Now, first of all, I just want to start off this video by saying respect to you for clicking on this long format video. Because, like, who the hell goes on Spotify and watches educational podcasts? Like, top 1% of the world. So, you're already heading in the right direction. But the things I'm going to talk about today, I don't even know if I'll remember them tomorrow. Because this is something that I really try to remind myself, but I always keep forgetting. But as long as we keep this in our minds, our life will be 100 times better. I'm 100% certain of this. I don't even know how to put this into words, but you know how us Muslims are raised in a way where if we're not allowed to talk about our feelings in our family, and we're not allowed to talk about like anything basically that deviates from like rock solid logic. Like this chair is black, like this is a brick. That's pretty much like the extent of like what we can talk about. And people think that this is a cool thing. Like all the Muslims I know, they like to brag how they had a hard upbringing. They're like, oh, you know, white people's parents are so soft. I'm so different. My parents used to beat me. I'm so tough. But I think me and you, if you've been watching my videos for long enough, and if you've opened your eyes, you know that a majority of Muslims are softer than cotton candy. And when I say soft, people will give me some stupid examples. They'll say, whoa, so do you know those like Lebos that hang around together? Like, do you think they're soft too? They're real men. And first of all, you need to understand that there will be some deviations. Every time, it's never general, obviously, it's not 100%. Those gangsters, they may make up a very small percentage of the Muslim population. And secondly, hanging around in gangs is not a strong thing at all. It actually makes you a pussy, if anything. And this doesn't mean, I'm not here saying like every single level like that you ever meet in the street is going to be a pussy, because I met some of them who were like solid dudes, who were like really like, they had a strong mind and they had like good ethics. But this perception of masculinity in the Muslim community, of being this gang, like being strong and having tattoos and all this stuff, it's really stupid, because most of these people, you'd be surprised, if they were alone, one-on-one, they would be an entirely different person. I would be a lot tougher too if I had like 10 guys around me who think the same as me. It's very easy to be tough when there's 10 of you. It's funny, I was actually walking in a shopping mall maybe like 2 years ago. I see this guy walk past me. I think he just like bumped into me, or I bumped into him or something. I was like, excuse me, bro. And then he just got like really awkward. I think he was a Muslim guy as well. I'm not sure, but I bumped into him and he was like, it's okay. Just like keeps walking. I was like, okay, that's a bit anxious, but whatever. Later, a couple of minutes later, after I hang around in the shopping center for a while, I see the same guy with like 5 of his friends. And they're all wearing, you know, those branded like gang style clothes or dressed in all black. Now, how do you think he was acting? He thought he was the biggest gangster in the world. Oh, bro. Now he thinks he can beat everyone in the world. So you need to understand that true toughness is in individuality. It's not in groups. But that's a little bit besides the point. I just went on a bit of a run with that one. What I want to talk about is how we can actually live life without being miserable all of the time. Because when our parents try to like instill their ideals onto us, they pretty much see each of us as a black and white slate. So they say, if you're depressed, just do work. And they think that applies for everyone. If you're depressed, just, you know, go eat some food and sit in the sun or something. They have these scripts that they tell everyone, because deep down, they believe that all the people are the same. They won't admit this, but they genuinely think like if you are bad at engineering and your brother is good at engineering, It's not because he has a natural inclination towards engineering, it's how his brain works. It's because you're lazy. Let me tell you a story about this, which I hope is going to be super relatable to you. Throughout my whole life, I was really good at traditional subjects like math, like accounting, any form of science, any form of like IT. I was really bad at it. And my whole life, I grew up thinking that I was a retard, basically. I just thought, okay, I'm stupid and I'm also really lazy. Those were the two things that I really ingrained into my head. And pretty much my whole life strategy was to survive. Because I thought, well, I have this brother, I have this cousin, and they're all really good at these subjects. They're not even trying as hard as me. I'm trying, but I still can't study. So they're just better than me. So I accepted that fact because no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't be like them. So yeah, what do you think happens to that guy? He spends his whole life thinking he's stupid, and as a consequence of that, as a self-fulfilling prophecy, he actually does fail in life. But at some point, I discovered psychology. Right? I don't even know how I first discovered it. I was like watching like videos and podcasts and stuff, and I just stumbled upon this idea that was really foreign to me, where it was like everybody has a unique personality. And even just the act of just describing someone a certain way, like for example, oh, that guy's really good with people. Oh, that guy's really good at talking. I started to think like, look, they're not saying like that guy, tried to study this subject his whole life, like talking, he practiced it his whole life. That's why he's good. The implication is that they have something inside them that makes them better at this specific thing. And then I started to research into personality differences. And that's where it gets real fun. Because any Muslim who understands this and learns this, their whole perspective gets crushed. Like they become an entirely different thinker than the way they were raised. Now, the danger of learning this, before I teach you, I'm just going to tell you, because most people who learn these things, they just use it to justify their pussiness. Like I know so many, like, let's say, to be honest, white people who learn these things and then like they just use it as an excuse to not do anything. They're like, well, I'm naturally depressed, so I'm not going to do anything. Well, I'm naturally lazy, so I'm not going to do anything. I'm naturally bad at this, I'm naturally bad at everything, so the only thing I'm good at is just doing this and laying in my bed all day. That's retarded, because nobody's that hopeless. In fact, I would argue everyone's like about the same level if they reach their potential. But this does not mean we're all good at the same things, and this doesn't mean that every strategy works for everyone. I'll explain what I mean. There are 5 personality types, and you may have heard of this, but you never really thought that deeply about it. Openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness, and neuroticism. I studied this back in high school, and I was hooked. I was watching so many videos on this. And after I tell you this, trust me, you're gonna love it. I know I keep saying this, but just trust me on this. You need to figure out where you fall under each of those categories. When parents tell you, if you are depressed, why don't you just go do some work? What they're assuming is that you are high in conscientiousness. Because conscientious people, when they feel depressed, most of the time, it's because they're not working. Because their brain is designed to be working as much as possible, like 12 hours, like 18 hours a day. They don't give a damn. But if you're low in conscientiousness, and someone gives you this advice, and you go and work all day, it may not actually make you happy. It might actually just make you even sadder than you are now. Because it could be the case that you are miserable not because you are underperforming in that metric. It could be because you are an extrovert and you're not having enough human connections in your daily life. It could also mean that you are an agreeable person, but you are running into too many people that you disagree with, and there's too much conflict. Because agreeable people tend to avoid conflicts. Do you understand what this means? if you can tailor your life to your specific individuality, you can accomplish unimaginable things. If you are unconscientious, like, I don't know what the opposite, I think it's just lazy, basically, like opposite of conscientiousness. You don't actually need to work that much. It might be that you are really high in something else, like, for example, extroversion. In that case, you don't need to be working all the time. You can just use life as a social ladder that you can climb, because that's how extroverts see the world, as social opportunities. You make connections with this guy, you make connections with this guy, and before you know it, you're like a CEO of a company that builds relationships with all your, like, like all your suppliers and investors and everything. There are people who do no work, but because they are so good at talking and interacting with people, they were worth like billions of dollars. Trust me, I've seen them. Now, so I had a bit of a deep thought in my brain come up. But let's go through this personality test right now and figure out where exactly you fall. How neurotic do you think you are? Now, neuroticism is essentially anxiety and depression. Most women tend to be very high on this. So if you're a woman, most likely you're pretty high on neuroticism, because you'll be very more anxious, you'll be more depressed. It sounds like a really bad thing, of course. Like, what the hell? Like, why would you want to be that? But you can actually use that to your advantage, because neurotic people, they'll take care of kids better. For example, that's a woman thing. They're really good at like being scared for the child. If he's like 5 years old, they're like, oh my god, like what if he catches a disease? Like, don't eat that, don't do this, don't do that. It becomes a problem, however, like, it's a bit of a side point, but it becomes a problem when the boy turns like 15 years of age and you're still trying to make him anxious. But once you figure out your level of neuroticism, now you can take actions towards it. Because I'll tell you a little secret. I am actually very, very high on neuroticism. In fact, for a guy, for a male, I am probably in the top, like, I don't know, top 2% of the like level of neuroticism. My proclivity towards anxiety throughout my whole life has been insanely high, like higher than my mom, like higher than like women around me. So, because of the culture I was raised in, that everybody just thought I was a pussy. Like, what the hell is wrong with this guy? Why is he sad about this? What's wrong with this? He's a pussy. And I felt like one. But when I accepted myself for being high in neuroticism, now I could do something about it. So if you are watching this and you're high in neuroticism, there are things you can do to regulate it. It's okay to have a bit of neuroticism, because it's gonna stop you from, saying the wrong thing, like being an idiot, like, just getting yourself in trouble. But too much neuroticism is going to make sure that you are anxious and depressed for the rest of your life. So how do you fix this? You need to pick up hobbies. This is very important. You need to pick up hobbies that are going to counteract your shortcomings in your personality. Because being too high on any of these metrics is actually a bad thing. So, for example, myself, I'm not, like, because I'm so anxious, like high in anxiety and depression, I give myself a bit of a break. I used to do yoga, like, for a long time, like maybe like 3 or 4 years ago. It actually helped me with my martial arts training as well, because I was more flexible. Now, some idiots will say yoga is haram, but it's actually not. It's only haram if you do like the chanting and like the spiritual version of it. But fitness yoga is just stretching, so calm the hell down. Yoga regulates your nervous system. It just calms it down. And I also have maybe like 30 or 40 minutes in my day where I just sit down and I try not to think about anything. Not like meditation type thing, but I'm just there and I'm just like Sitting there, and every time a thought comes, I just process it really quickly. I'm like, okay, handle it, gone. And within like a few minutes, I'll have no thoughts left in my mind, and I'll just stay calm for that time. I also spend a lot of time journaling every day. Like write down wrote down books and books of writings, trying to calm my own anxieties. It's not a weak thing, because this made me more productive than all the idiots who were neurotic. Now I can beat all of their ass. So who cares if you're less depressed? I can still destroy your ass. Choke you to death if I want to. So, you need to accept yourself for who you are and then take actions towards that. Now, you're not going to hear this advice from too many people, because all the self-improvement guys on YouTube and like everywhere really, they all have this idea that, oh, you have to be an alpha male, oh, depression is not real. Oh. So if you go and talk to your family, for example, they will say the same thing. They will say, what are you talking about? Why would you want to do yoga every day? That's stupid. What's wrong with you? Just stop being depressed. Just do more work. If you know within yourself that you are more prone to depression than others, it's your responsibility to take care of it. Now, let's say you are high in, let's say, extroversion. And that's me as well. I'm high in extroversion, I'm low on introversion. So what that means is you need to be interacting with the world as much as possible. I'll be very honest, as I always am. This is something I really, really struggle with. Because the only thing worse for an extrovert than not having any friends is having friends who you can't have a meaningful connection with. It just happens to me that everyone around me is like really fake in the Muslim community where I live. There are some guys that I get along really well with. But to be honest, this is something I need to work on. I can't even tell you that much about it because, I need to improve on this. But what I need to do, same as you if you're high in extroversion, is you need to go out and you need to join as many communities as possible. You need to go into public speaking, you need to go into sales, you need to go into like those community centers in your area and join some clubs where you are hosting events and stuff. Because you need to stimulate that part of yourself or you won't be happy in life. And you need to also progress socially because extroverts need to use their skills to climb up the social ladder. So you need to start meeting better and better people. You need to start building better and better relationships. So that's advice for you and me. Now, which one do we talk about next? Let's talk about agreeableness and disagreeableness because this is a massive one. Say you're high in agreeableness. That basically means you are very easy to sway in anyone's direction, take advantage of. And women tend to be more agreeable for obvious reasons because when the husband marries them, she basically needs to comply to him just biologically. Otherwise, the baby won't survive. But if you do rank high in agreeableness, this is what you need to do. You need to go through something called assertiveness training. And this is very difficult. It's probably one of the most difficult things anybody has to go through. That means if you are sitting with 5 people and they're all arguing for one thing, for example, they're all arguing that a Muslim Boris is a retard. And you know deep in your mind that I'm a genius and jacked and smartest human being on the planet. You need to argue towards it. You need to say, no, I don't think Muslim Boris is a retard. I think he's actually pretty cool. And you need to argue against all of those people to the end. You don't let them reconvince you. That might mean you get into a bit of a conflict, but they'll actually respect you more for it in the long term, as long as you hold your frame. And once you repeat this 3 or 4 times, it becomes easier and easier. And that way, when someone tries to tell you something you don't agree with, like, for example, if you're in a relationship and someone's trying to take advantage of you, and let's say your husband or your wife is trying to tell you, no, I don't want you to go out, like, I don't want you to have social media, I don't want you to do this, and it crosses your boundaries. You need to have the capacity to say, no, that's not, like, that's too far. I can't give you that much control over my life. I think that violates my boundaries. When you keep practicing assertiveness, you're going to get better and better and better at it. Now, I'm probably somewhere in the middle of agreeableness and disagreeableness, but I've been trying to become a bit more disagreeable because that actually helps you in life. It helps you become more successful financially. I don't know why. I think I told the story. I was in a meeting with a bunch of people the other day, and I was really proud of myself because I was arguing with five like big ass dudes, and they were all saying hijabi is haram because they're talking about my videos. And I managed to argue with all of them, even though they were all saying like, "Oh, that's haram, you're a bad person. Let's ask an imam, let's ask an imam." But I kept arguing because I truly believed I was right and I was making valid points. And I walked away from that with my head held high. Do they like me more because of that? I don't know. Maybe they hate me. But I genuinely don't give a damn because it's my true opinion. I will argue about Islam against like 10 atheists at work sometimes. Even if the whole world is against my opinion, I will still keep holding it until it gets proven otherwise. That's a good way to be. That's not even too high on disagreement. That just means you're a healthy human being. Alright, what else do we got? Let's talk about openness. That's like probably one of the most interesting ones. Now, I am extremely high in openness. And the problem with being high in openness is you don't really fit into the society that well because you usually think very differently from everyone else. Especially if you also happen to be high in agreeableness. You don't, no, actually, if you're high in agreeableness, you'll just blend in, but you'll feel fake. If you're high in openness and high in disagreeableness, it'll be very hard for you to find friends because you have these opinions that are very unique and you can't really argue, you can't really find people that support that, and you can't pretend that you think otherwise. That's a tough place to be. But it's essentially creativity. And people who are high in openness, they can't really interact with the world in a black and white way. There needs to be some sort of an unlimited accessibility. Most people who are really high in openness, they become some form of artists. Now, J.K. Rowling is known to be like possibly like the most extremely open person of all time, because the book she wrote, Harry Potter, it's absolutely like out of this world. Like she just created random ass things. Like there's some like big ass troll who lives in their toilets. Like what the hell, right? She just came up with that. They use sticks to do magic. Like it's just completely out of this world. And when you write a story, it's like it's infinite possibilities. You can literally push the boundaries forever. People who are high in openness need some sort of an outlet like that. Now, I am like reasonably high in openness. I'm probably not the highest, but me doing this podcast right now is my outlet because there's essentially an infinite amount of sentences I can form right now. I can literally talk about anything and make you think anything, right? Like, I didn't have a script or anything, which makes it a lot better, because right now, I can literally think of anything that comes to my mind. That's the beauty of creativity. Now, martial arts can be that. And Bruce Lee found a way to integrate his openness with martial arts. For you, it might be something like you like to write poems. Now, that's a really, really good outlet. Maybe you like to write stories. Maybe you like to make videos. You need to find something that's infinite. That little kid in your school who used to sit in the back of the class and draw all day, that person is very high in openness. And unfortunately, most of them don't have a very good life because you can't make money from most of those things. I don't make money from these videos. I was making it on YouTube, but it got banned. But that's a side story. But I will make these videos anyway because it fulfills my mission, and it's just that itches that itch of it scratches that itch of creativity in the back of my mind, and you need to find something like that if you're high in this. In the times of old, people who were too high in openness, they would become shamans. Like they would be like witch doctors. They talk with the spirits or something, right? They were crazy. So most imams, like if they're really good, then they are usually very high in openness, because Islam in itself is like an infinite, like it's like an infinite bag of wisdom, like infinite amount of information. Like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, like, what is it? Like nobody knows. Like we know, but you know what I mean. He's infinite, and if you are really high in openness, religion can be a huge outlet for that. Because when you pray, just think about the concept of that. You are praying to an infinite entity. Like, whoa, you can pray for anything, you can say anything. It's just crazy. And yeah, I mean, the idea is that people who are crazy high in openness, they have a better connection to the outside world. So that talks about like jinns, it talks about like, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it talks about like Satan, shaitan. You just have a connection to the wider world, the world above what we just see. That's basically what it is. Now the last one we're going to talk about, I think I've already covered it a fair bit, but conscientiousness is a really complicated one, because it actually does help you succeed, but it also means if you're not working all the time, then you will constantly feel like you were like a miserable loser. Imagine a guy who's extremely high in conscientiousness. The word you would use to describe him is an workaholic, because he just can't stop working. That means his family suffers. That might mean he lacks in his deen. That might mean that he's very out of shape because he's doing his job the whole time. That's not a very good thing, because you want to be more well-rounded. Now you can manage it by being conscientious about many things. Like you can convert like the small tasks that would normally seem like relaxation into work, and that makes your life way better. So for example, instead of thinking I'm just going to finish work and then I have to spend time with my family, you're going to say I'm going to finish this work, and then my next job is to make my family as happy as possible. And then you set yourself like proper tasks, like I'll give my wife a hug, I'll say this to my son, I'll have this discussion with my wife. And then you think about it as work. So you need to structure your whole life as a form of like a to-do list if you want to survive as a conscientious person. Now, if you want to do a proper test on like if you are like what kind of personality traits you fit into, just search up Ocean personality test, Ocean, and that should help you. But to be honest, I don't believe in tests. I feel like you can just think and you can figure out where you fit in. So I suggest you just do that. And the last thing I want to tell you is like just do what you enjoy. And this is a really like underappreciated advice, because for someone who's like already high in neuroticism, if I don't do things I enjoy, life becomes nothing but anxiety and depression. But these things make me really happy. It makes me happy to be doing what I'm doing right now. That's why I got my little bunch of cookies on me. And I did it on purpose to give you this idea. Just do what you enjoy sometimes. Right now, I'm doing work effectively. I mean, I'm fulfilling my purpose, inshallah. But at the same time, I'm getting a massive enjoyment out of it because I feel like I'm interacting with you. So just do what you enjoy. That's the bottom line. Even if you don't break down your personality and you don't listen to anything I've said on this video, just keep this in mind. Do what you enjoy, as long as it's halal. That being said, never look down on your work. Never ever skip the things that you don't want to do. Go to gym. Go take up martial arts because you're gonna really like those things. Improve your life, make money, but do it in a way that you enjoy, not in a way that people expect you to. That's it for me.